Hi everyone, I hope you're good guy. Welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna talk about Industrial Techno Groove. I'm gonna show you which groove I used in my previous video where I show how to make industrial rave lead. So you've been a lot asking me how to make this kind of groove. So today we're gonna have a look at that. And for that I've created a kind of rack which kind of create a reverb kick, but more like in the high frequency. It's kind of weird to explain. I don't really know which name to put on it, but let's have a listen to the pattern we're gonna do today. So it sounds like this. And we're gonna focus more on this rack, keep the reverb. So if I remove it, you see it's creating this offbeat kind of noise reverb. The best example I have in mind is you have Code Black from Rebecca, which has been remixed by Slam, and there is this kind of as well offbeat kind of noise reverb, and I wanted to create that. So that's what we're gonna have a look into it today, and we're gonna have a look as well all overall tom hats perks that you can see that there is as well here in the project, and I'm gonna show in detail how everything has been created. So basically, to create this kind of rack, that's our kick by default, and to create this kind of rack you need a reverb. So I'm just gonna grab a reverb here and I'm gonna group it because I want to have kind of a dry wet knob. And so here you have all of your macro. So I'm just gonna quickly rename the macro the same as they are. All right, so we have our weight chain here. We need to create a dry one, obviously. I'll put it on the top. And so the weight here, the volume, I'm gonna effect volume. This is gonna be our weight amount. So here you don't hear nothing. And we're gonna focus on the weight. So obviously you hear too much the dry signal, so you're gonna bring the dry weight here. So then there is no really rule. Just maybe a bit more diffuse. A bit more ticket time. So you can play as well with the density and scale until you have something you like. That's really about how you can experiment with. And then after I apply some macro like this, you can really shape the sound the way you want. But basically, you got the main idea of the sound. So first, for the reverb offbeat, it's to pre-delay. So this way, if you want to have the reverb kind of offbeat, here like the reverb is in the same time than the kick, but if you wanna drive it, have it offbeat, it's up to you. And I've assigned the size as well to the reverb color. So this is a nice way to kind of appropriate yourself the rack and the preset and really create and have more parameter to really adjust depending on your kick, because obviously every kick is gonna respond differently to this rack. So that's what I've assigned here. And yeah, for the reverb, that's pretty much. And then after I wanted to have more control and maybe being able to pitch the reverb, like kind of having more something in the high or something like more in the mid. And so I've used frequency shifter that I've mapped to reverb pitch, and it allows me this way to pitch the. So obviously I use this one is too big. Like the range is way too much. I want something like between -500 Hertz and 500 Hertz. This way it's way much more refined. And so yeah, depends what if you are looking for. If you are looking for something darker, or again something more brighter, that's really up to you. All right, now the next things I've done, I wanted to kind of make things a bit more interesting, and I wanted to have a kind of filter modulation and to get this kind of groovy effect. So what I've done is I've just brought an EQ. I've added as well LFO from Max for Live to kind of give movement. And the idea is to have like one particular frequency boosted and make it sweep around to have an extra groove to the sound. So it works like this. I'm gonna select just frequency 3 here, and the gain is for frequency resonance, so I can bring it up like this. And I want to be able also to control this if I want to boost And the idea is to do like something like this, obviously, but automated by LFO. But the thing is here, I cannot map to the macro because I need this to be modulated here. So you can see here the range, it's kind of a bit too big. I need something more like 40 and 80%. Because I want it to modulate more in the higher zone, you know, in the mid-high. I don't want too much in the low or too high. Again, I like to refine my parameter. This way it's more accurate and you can be more precise when you handle the macro. So the rate, I want it to be synchronized. This is up to you. You can leave it unsynchronized, but I like to have it, and I'm gonna map it to the macro. This way I can straight away control. So for example, if you want something so obviously here the effect is too much, the depth is too much, so I'm gonna map the depth to the LFO amount. And here I don't want something 100%, I want something more 50%. Again, I don't want, if the effect is too pronounced, it's kind of sound weird, but like this is. And so then I want to be able to control the frequency, because if I want the movement more in the mid or more in the high, the thing is to map the offset button to frequency boost. And this way I'm going to be able, you can see like it's going more in the high frequency if I go up, and if I go down it's going more in the low frequency. Again, I don't want to have something too wide range, so I'm going to just go minus 50% here and 50% here. This way I've got a bit more control and a bit. And the thing is, if you want something more hypnotic, obviously you can have a very slow rate, and like this it's gonna really kind of creating this ambience movement. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. One last thing I need to add is some sidechain. So I would usually use the compressor, but someone last time mentioned in the comment that why I don't use the shaper with the gain, the utility plugin to kind of create sidechain. It's true that it's something that I knew that exists, but I've never really dig into it. And there is this sidechain here. And it's from a YouTube channel called On and O, and it's basically using, I will put the link in the description if you want to find out more. It's basically a shaper with a gain plugin. This way it's like kind of automatic sidechain, and you don't have to trigger by an external thing. And yeah, so that's pretty handy. And yeah, you can like, you see, it can help to, if you want more in the mid, the boost, you can reduce as well, but and yeah, you have your sidechain here. Alright, and that's it for the rack. So I've created as well a version to use as a return. So if you're more like to use as a return, so you can just grab as well. It's exactly the same, so except of having obviously a wet amount knob. I've just put the sidechain, but yeah, otherwise it's like just one chain, obviously, because this has the return. So you can straight away send. Let me actually deactivate this. And use it as a return. Yeah, that's really up to you. All right, so now let's talk about the beat itself and how I built everything. So obviously there was this rack for this effect, but I'm just gonna deactivate everything. And you can see I use my industrial kick rack. So again, I will put the link in the description if you wanna find out more about this rack. It's just a rack where you drop your kick here, and it's just making it great with the macro. So yeah, that was the original kick. In the rack, it's come as well this kick fast rack. It's another rack of mine. And just to boost everything, and then you have a couple of return that use by sending your signal with this macro over there. So you have top there, which is kind of similar to the rack. This rack here, I'm gonna come back to it later. This basically was kind of the first beta version of the other rack. Okay, this rack, this percussion of beat. Here there is nothing, and then you have the rumble. So again, I use my rack. But again, if you want to find out more about this rack, I will put the link in the description. And then you have already a good bass, just a bit of EQ to rebalance the way I want it. Kick punch. So it's similar to this reverb top. It's really, so you can think this one is similar to this one. Basically, it's adding reverb on the top end. But the thing is, this one is more like to help the kick cut through the mix, the kick punch rack, rather than the kick verb top. It's more like kind of creating this effect, this off-beat effect, and has more like a groovier purpose. Rather than the kick punch, it's more like a kind of let's say mixing purpose or sound design. Alright, and then you have your groove. So then you have this tom thing. So this is, I use my tom rumble rack, and it's, I've just been, you have in the first tom, I use a kick, and again, if you want to find out more about this rack, but I'm gonna show the pattern, that's what is interesting. And you can see the first one is and you have this kind of nice rattle kind of effect here, and then you have this one which is more kind of a 909 tom. And again together, and then some sidechain and some EQ, but this is doesn't add a bit of kind of rumble, so it's kind of, it can sound a bit more messy as well, so it's depends if you like or not, if you want something more clean or if you doesn't mind to have something a bit more messy. But yeah, that's how I basically use this rumble rack. Basically this rack is, you have some tom and you have the pattern, and you can send in the return, and this is like kind of my rumble kick, my first version. And so yeah, it's kind of creating a rumble, but by using tom, which is kind of a different way to have a rumble. Then we move into hat. So hat, I didn't want it to have something too complicated, like it was just as a demo for the industrial synth rack. So you just have like open hat, which is like, so you see you have a kind of a crescendo velocity, and with the one strongest offbeat, and it's a 909 hat from my library, so I will put the link in the description. And same with the kick for the sample, I will put the link in the description if you want to find out more. And yeah, and then the ride is playing like this. There is no much process, there is just a bit of reverb. Again, it was just like to add a bit of and finally, this is very interesting. So this was heavily inspired by Alien track, I think it's Contrast, the track, where there is this kind of rolling kind of rattle percussion like this. And what I've done is I used the same kick than the original, but you can see here it's simpler, and I've pitched it up 1 octave upper because it's C4, you know, and with simpler, when you play C3, it's playing the sample at its original pitch. So when you play C4, it's playing 1 octave upper, and then up it's just filtered delay. So it's kind of sounding like a tom, basically, bit of saturation, but it's mainly the echo and the filter. And then obviously your sidechain, and you've got your groove. So obviously this is for industrial techno, but it can work as well for more dark techno, obviously this kind of offbeat reverb. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today's guy. I hope you liked. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you soon, guys. Bye bye.